Welcome, Lena. It's
Thank
good
you.
to see you again.
It's amazing to see you. It was
Last
a
time
great time
we
in
saw
Australia.
each other, in Australia for the Sydney and Melbourne Data Range Bites.
That was the best conference ever.
Very kind, very kind. I'm sure, Data Day Texas has been phenomenal, hasn't it?
It is. Day-to-Day Texas has brought so many brilliant people, and I'm so glad that you're able to make it here in person.
Super glad. Such a stacked lineup, really got a lot out of all of the talks. Speaking of talks, you did a talk yesterday on context being greater than prompts. Tell us a little bit about that. Context engineering is taking the world by storm. You did a similar talk, I guess, around context engineering at Data Range Bites this year in July. How has your talk and your thoughts on context engineering evolved since then?
So the industry is moving so fast right now, and everything that we do around AI, coding and coding with AI is moving extremely quickly. So if we look back in the last couple of years, how we all started with AI coding and integrating LLMs into products, we just open up our IDE like Cursor or Visual Studio Code with GitHub Copilot when we start writing a prompt. So we communicate with AI through natural language, through English, and everything that we write goes into the LLM context. But as it turns out, there are quite a few issues and failure modes that happen when we use this approach. First of all, we realized that the context window is, even though it can be huge, it could be up to 1 million tokens, it doesn't always mean that the more context we put in there, the better the result is going to be. I think another issue is that when the session ends, we don't have any way to restore our state or to start over from a specific point. So the techniques have been evolving really fast around what we can do to make our coding with AI and integrating LLM into agents more reliable and more value-oriented. So we, for example, things like brainstorm, plan, implement approach where we divide our workflow into separate stages as we work with LLMs. If we observe an error during one stage, we can easily catch hundreds more errors, prevent hundreds more errors at the next stages. Another one is we realized that it is useful to start with fresh context. This is where sub-agents come to mind. So when you're dividing your work into manageable bite-sized tasks and having all the context of your conversation before it is just not relevant. So if you start with a spec, you split it into really well-defined product requirements documents with acceptance criteria that really helps keep the model focused. And now we're seeing a ton of new approaches for creative AI coding with Ralph, with Gastown, with projects like BAML. So many exciting new things to take a look at, and it's going to keep moving along. So my recommendation is to pay attention and to try out these things because the development speed is very fast and reviewing things manually is becoming a bottleneck. So we need to have better harness, better infrastructure around our code, the testing, the type safety, the automated checks, the CI/CD that helps us maintain speed and quality at the same time. And also when it comes to integrating LLMs into products, that's another big area of context, where context isn't just the prompts that we send, it's also the data that we have available across our databases, graphs, our semantic layer. It's about what mechanisms we use to search for the right context and put it in our window, things like that. So it's a lot to discover.
There was so much in what you just said there. So there was a school of thought initially that we'd just write a PRD and then maybe have a checklist to go through and get the LLM to go through that. But now the idea is that we've got that PRD and perhaps some design docs that's getting broken down, tasks, epics and stories. And then it's just that context that we're feeding to the LLM in order to complete that discrete task before moving on to the next.
Yeah, so the idea behind the new thinking and like this interesting creative approach with Gastown is fascinating because the state is moving out of just simple MD or text files. The state is externalized into like Git-based work trees in like issue tracking systems that we if something fails, we just restart and it picks up from the checkpoint that happened, and it makes it more reliable. And agents have specific well-defined roles. So it's a really great provocative framework that we can explore that just recently came out.
What we're seeing is that the whole context engineering flow very much evolving and maturing, if you will. What are some of the missing pieces? I guess we've got projects like Beads, which has come out of Stephen Yegi, who's the creator of Gastown. We've got Ralph from Jeff Huntley. It seems like there's perhaps an orchestration piece missing. Have you got any thoughts on how context engineering is going to evolve over the next 6 to 12 months, or maybe that's even too long, over the next 6 weeks perhaps?
Yeah. Honestly, I am just watching this with fascination around the different approaches that people take. There is still a huge cognitive dissonance for people to adopt or even experiment with these workflows, because when you have 20 to 30 agents doing things for you, you cannot physically review it. You have to shift your mind to adopt a completely new workflow where if you're working on a really business critical application, you cannot afford to make a mistake because you haven't verified something. So I think the area that we need to watch for is like, because we're unable to physically review all this code with our own eyes, what are exactly the right things that we need to establish around our orchestration, around our context engineering, that will make us comfortable trusting the output that we're producing. And I think that there's a few really promising approaches that are emerging, but it's definitely the area that we need to watch out for. Like if you look at the Gastown's README, it tells us that you probably shouldn't use it. It tells us it's too raw yet, and that it might work for well-defined tasks. If you have a great direct idea what you're doing. Same with Ralph. So I wouldn't recommend it at the moment for anyone who is going to put it in production for a system where like you need human review. So we're definitely evolving there, and I don't have any predictions. I think that the best advice is to watch what's going on and try it on your own time to have your own perception and understanding of when it is or isn't a good idea.
Seems like a lot of the focus at the moment is using these techniques on greenfield projects, or like copying, replicating one app to another.
There was one thing that I would like to add is there was a great talk by Jonathan Ellis. He used to be working a lot on Cassandra, Apache Cassandra database, and it has a giant code base. So with the new coding IDE, Brock, he basically approached it in a way where it's a business critical application, it's a huge code base, and some things that we as developers need to get visibility into, and the existing coding agents don't cut it for these types of things. So like with Claude Code, it's impossible to have the transparency, if you want to have the transparency of like which methods changed and how do we find the right option out of the 20 things that it found that are relevant to your question. So in Brock, he takes an approach where you as a developer, still the driver, still in the driver's seat, but you have the ways inside that IDE to get all the context and visibility that you need to steer it in the right way, but also to correct it as you watch things develop. So taking a very active role in development versus the accept all yes approach that a lot of people use with Claude, for example, with Claude Code.
Cool. We're seeing a lot of change, a lot of active development. How do we keep ahead of the curve in terms of all the fast-moving changes that are occurring?
I think the best way right now is to do things, to build things, because the industry is moving just way too fast, and you need to find the frequency at which you are able to understand why certain things are emerging and shape your own opinion of what it does for your business, for your work streams. So when you see a new article, which comes out every week with something new, we don't know what's going to happen next week. You might not need to try everything, but I think you need to keep up and understand of where things are going to understand how it applies to your business. So my recommendation is to spend as much time learning as you can, but also to be effective at using those tools, especially for more junior developers, for someone who is just entering the industry. We need to get back to the fundamentals so that we can make better decisions about the trade-offs that sometimes we need to make when using these tools. So it's a combination of keeping up with the new, but also staying solid on the fundamental approaches.
Awesome. Well, it's wonderful chatting, Lena. Enjoy the rest of the conference and hope to see you again soon in Australia.
Thank you. I would love to visit again. It was
Awesome.
a blast.
Yeah, thank you.